most important thing to understand about Kemi is that she's Nigerian.
That is a lie. You are lying. You are lying.
No.
You said I used the word disease. When?
I don't know, did you?
Of course I didn't. And so you don't even know where that came from. Where did you get that from? Where did you get that from?
I'm not here to answer your question.
Because you don't know. Because you don't know.
What Kemi is saying, I'm a person of Nigerian heritage, I'm a Conservative. I don't think all Conservatives are racists, but I think most Conservatives are decent people.
Did the Foreign Secretary take that opportunity to apologise for making derogatory and scatological references, including, and I quote, Trump is not only a woman-hating, neo-Nazi sympathising sociopath, he is also a profound threat to the international order.
Kemi Badenoch is badding up people in interviews. The more I get to know her, the more I appreciate her straight talking. She doesn't meander, she doesn't do the weave, and she doesn't BS. So I've been on a journey to understand who Kemi Badenoch is. She's definitely polarizing. And the moment I talk about her on my channel, the comment section goes crazy. So here we are back with another video. I like what she's saying, I like what she's doing, but I know lots of people, including some of my friends, totally disagree. For those of you that don't know, my name is TJ. I spent the last year and a half here in Uganda with my partner, Medina. I decided to make this YouTube channel and put everything that's on my mind and what we do on this channel. And this journey to Uganda has challenged me in ways that I would have never been challenged if I just stayed in the UK. One of the things I miss about the UK is the kind of British wit, the dry humor, the jokes, the banter. That stuff is missing here for me in Uganda, you know. So maybe all of that has influenced further my enjoyment of Kemi Badenoch. Now, I know you saw this in my last video, but just in case you didn't, let's just watch a snippet of what I'm talking about.
You write that we cannot assume that all cultures are equally valid. So which cultures, in your view, are less valid than others?
Oh, lots. Cultures that believe in child marriage, for instance, or that women don't have equal rights.
I didn't want to hash through the whole video again. You can watch the previous video I made if you want to do that. Did you notice that little twinkle in her eye? She was prepared, she was ready, she was solid. She didn't stutter or stammer. So this should set the stage. She's been the leader of the Conservative Party for just 1 week and already she's batting them up.
Prime Minister and the Foreign Secretary met him in September. Did the Foreign Secretary take that opportunity to apologise for making derogatory and scatological references, including, and I quote, Trump is not only a woman-hating, neo-Nazi sympathising sociopath, he is also a profound threat to the international order. And if he did not apologise, will the Prime Minister do so now on his behalf?
That right there is a knockout. First of all, for the people that say she's not Nigerian, this for me is evidence that she is. Because it would only be a Nigerian that would use the word scatological in the Parliament on their first day.
Did the Foreign Secretary take that opportunity to apologise for making derogatory and scatological
references? They even had to zoom in on Lammy's face there. The guy was sweating, mate. This is so clever. What does it do? It shows them I mean business. She's come out and she's punched him on the nose. Aside from that, it puts Trump on notice. It brings it back into the zeitgeist. This is going to find its way to Trump. And it's going to cause havoc. You know, they're going to have to be real adults or whatever. But Lammy and Keir Starmer are going to have to go and sit down with Trump. And this is going to be an elephant in the room. They're either going to have to address it or deal with it or not. But whatever happens, it's going to be an elephant in the room.
And if he did not apologise, will the Prime Minister do so now on his behalf?
The Foreign Secretary and I did meet President-elect Trump just a few weeks ago for dinner for about a couple of hours, and we discussed a number of issues of global significance. It was a very constructive exercise.
Did you answer the question? That was politics speak. I guess I don't know if it's a winning strategy exactly, but what would be a breath of fresh air to me is that people in politics can admit mistakes and admit shortcomings. Yes, you're right. We should apologize. One of the things about being in this position is that you never stop learning, and I should definitely take the opportunity. Thank you for reminding me to have an opportunity of growth where I can go to Trump and rebuild a relationship. And maybe my humility when I apologize will help it. Something like that. I don't know, maybe I went too far, but some type of human taking accountability. You didn't answer the question. I think she won that back and forth, but it wasn't over. There's more.
Given that most of his cabinet signed a motion to ban President Trump from addressing Parliament, will the Prime Minister show that he and his government can be more than student politicians by asking you, Mr. Speaker, to extend an invitation to President Trump to address Parliament on his next visit?
Mr. Speaker, the Leader of the Opposition is giving a masterclass on student politics.
Nice little back and forth.
But seriously, Mr. Speaker, we live in probably more volatile world than we've lived in for many decades. It is absolutely crucial that we have a strong relationship that's strong.
At this point, I've already switched off. We live in a volatile... I'm tuned out. I'm tuned out. Whatever that tone, the way you've approached that part of the conversation, whatever that part that you're just about to say, sounds like it's going to be some BS. Now, that may not be BS, but generally, the pattern recognition, this is the kind of place where some BS is about to go down.
Strong special relationship forged in difficult circumstances between the US and the UK. We will continue to work, as we have done in the 4 months in government, on issues of security, our economy and global conflict.
It wasn't BS, but it was a nothing answer. Now, I just want to go back a second. Whoever this woman is here, she looks like she's so happy Kemi Badenoch is there to unleash on these Labour guys. She's like, yep, we've unleashed the dog on you. We've taken the chain off. Just look at this, her face. Now she's mouthing to someone over there. She's probably giving them, yeah, I told you. Yeah, you're going to have to deal with us now. Let's just refresh the way Lammy's been going on about Donald Trump to remind ourselves the kind of position Lammy's been holding about Trump in the last few years.
Well, we're marching because we are...
Wait a goddamn minute. What is this thing on your mouth, on that your bottom lip? What is this thing on your bottom lip? Already, I can't even hear anything else he said. This thing on his bottom, this thing on his bottom lip. Nah, on TV. And the cameraman didn't even let him know. That's how you... This thing is a madness. You can't be on TV with your lip looking... They done him in, they done him in, they done him in. Finished his life. All right, sorry, focus. Woo.
Well, we're marching because we are standing in solidarity with many Americans and communicating our huge disapproval with this president. A president who's said awful things during London's lowest moments of terrorism, who has attacked our democratically elected Mayor Sadiq Khan, a president who has retweeted far-right hatred of Britain First, the hatred that saw the death of Joe Cox. For all of those reasons and so much more, people are coming out in droves today to make it absolutely clear that Donald Trump is not welcome in our country. I don't think any of us could have believed that a man full of such bile, such hatred, such evil would get his hands on what at its best is the beacon of freedom in the world. And so this presidency is worse than any of us could ever have imagined.
I mean, Trump, he's got to go in and talk and negotiate with Trump. What I've learned more and more in life is that things sometimes that are not supposed to matter do matter. Presidents, business people, they're supposed to put their differences aside. But the truth is we're human. And if you think someone thinks poorly of you, it's going to have an influence on whatever it is you're doing together. A lot of what he said is not based in truth. It's based in spin. Now, I'm not saying Trump is any angel, but they love to spin what he says. They love to squeeze out the most egregious angle they can find out of anything he says. And if anything isn't articulated perfectly, you know, they're going to try and make it seem like it's worse than it is. And I do not appreciate conversation that is not happening in good faith. I think people are tired of that. I think that's why Trump won. He may not be politically correct. You don't get the feeling that he's got some contrived puppet answer, some, you know, sticking to the policy answer. He's shooting from the hip. And you saw that on the Joe Rogan interview. That's why he won the election, amongst other things. And now, Lammy's got to go and deal with him. We're now seeing a departure of politics speak. You've got Kemi, who still kind of engages in politics speak, but she's concise, you know? And then you've got Trump over there. It's not perfect because it is politically incorrect, but it's kind of genuine, like it's from his heart. And therefore you get to see who he is, except for when they spin his words to the nth degree. I mean, Lammy literally called him a neo-Nazi on Twitter. And that's based off the Charlottesville aftermath, when they kind of edited down his speech. So, you know, they made it worse than it was. If you go and listen to the whole speech, I was thinking about putting in this video, but, you know, I ain't got time for that. If you want to go and watch the whole video and you see what Trump actually says, you can't come to the conclusion that he's a neo-Nazi from what he says. But it was spun that way. And now Trump's got to sit in the room opposite a guy that's supposed to know where the land lies, doesn't realize that he's spouting spin. And if he does realize he's spouting spin, you've still got a problem. And you know Britain's got to toe the line when it comes to whatever America wants. So yeah, it's gonna be a madness. So I came across this next clip and I thought it was interesting. Let's check it out.
Well, look, there are a couple of things you've got to understand about Kemi. The most important thing to understand about Kemi is that she's Nigerian.
He looks a bit like Kevin Samuels, don't he? If Kevin Samuels had a bald head, just shout out to Kevin Samuels. I know that's probably the wrong thing for him. That's probably the wrong thing for me to say on my channel. Women are now unsubscribing. It's a mess.
Well, look, there are a couple of things you've got to understand about Kemi. The most important thing to understand about Kemi is that she's Nigerian. And that's...
Spell out what you mean by that.
That means that she is combative, and she expects others to be combative.
Right.
There is a sort of, in my view, a sort of juvenile prissiness about British politics now, in which people are expected to somehow cloak their beliefs in a way that means that nobody can possibly object to anything they say. I think that I think she's very direct, and that's the thing that people like about her. You never come away from a conversation with Kemi Badenoch
Not knowing what she
thinks. There's absolutely no possibility that you don't know what she thinks.
I agree with that. And I think it's funny how he framed it. She's Nigerian. Yeah, she's feisty. A lot of Nigerian women, aunties that I've got and stuff like that, man, they don't play around. I could see how you could be offended by something like that. Oh, she's Nigerian. The truth is, if you've got any kind of connections to Nigerian aunties, you know that they're feisty. You know, they can argue, they can cuss. When they start throwing in the Yoruba and everything, man, they can dress you down real quick. And that's something that like is in Nigeria, you know, kind of snapping culture where you can see people going back and forth. And I think the language, you know, kind of lends itself to it. The way Pidgin English is spoken, and I think those things lend itself to that kind of culture. So I think that's a fair point to make. And she certainly executes whatever she wants to say precisely. And again, that's why we like her. Now let's look at a little bit of some of that feistiness.
And you've also made these statements using inflammatory language that likens children and young people coming out as trans to the spread of a disease.
I've never said that. That is a lie.
Well,
That is a lie. And I think you should withdraw that statement. That is a lie. You are lying. You are lying.
I'm not lying to you.
You are lying. I have never ever used the word disease. And I think this is exactly what I'm talking about. You are making statements in a select committee that are untrue.
You've just called me a liar.
Can I just remind the Minister that is unparliamentary
Right.
language?
What she has said is not true. It's not true. And we have to use facts in this room.
I listened back to this quite a few times. She never called her a liar. She said, "You're lying. You're lying." She didn't say you are a liar. So I don't know what else might be going on other than what's being said in the room.
We can't just make stuff up. This is what I'm talking about.
Well, I absolutely agree with you. I just don't think that your facts necessarily...
When was that statement made? And where?
So this is the government's own data.
No,
in the
no, no, no. You
LGBT
said I
survey.
used the word.
This woman here is enjoying this.
I don't know, did you? Data
No,
in
no,
the
no, no. You
LGBT
said I
survey.
used the word disease. When?
I don't know, did you?
Of course I didn't.
What?
And so you don't even know where that came from. Where did you get that from? Where did you get that from?
I'm not here to answer your questions.
Yeah, because you don't know. Because you don't know.
That was a knockout. By the way, if you watch that whole thing, she took some hits as well. But that was a knockout because you don't know. Yeah. Final word, gavel down, slam dunk, finished, knockout. And that's what you want. That's what you want in international negotiations. That's what you want at the front of your party, right? You want someone that is really like, there's one thing arguing with your friends or having a debate. There's another thing doing it in public. It's a different level. It's a different level. Doing it where the stakes are high, in Parliament, on TV, where everyone can scrutinize you. She rarely steps a foot wrong. The first time I watched that, it was sent into my WhatsApp group with my friends. And the perspective, based off the conversation that I had then, is totally different to the perspective that I have now. I want to liken it to, boxing. I'm somewhat knowledgeable about boxing, but I'm not an expert by any means. So what happens is, if I watch a boxing fight, which I enjoy from time to time, I tend to have a biased eye, and I know this. So if there's a boxer I'm supporting, then, if the fight's close, usually you feel like the boxer you're watching is the one that's won. And it's really hard to have an objective eye. And I think a lot of that is going on in politics right now. Because when I watched that interview before, the perspective has shifted. And it just goes to show you that we really do have to try and think objectively. And there is a filter that we put all information through before we analyze it. We've got our biases. And I don't know how much people really take the time to check that. Watching the fallout of the presidential loss by the Democrats and the way like some of the people on the news were talking and some of the public I've seen talking on YouTube and on TikTok, and it's like they're captured. And I raised my hand highest. I've been captured as well, but I try now to acknowledge that. And that's what all of us need to do. That's our responsibility as citizens of wherever you are, UK, country in Africa, I'm in Uganda, if you're in America. We have to take an unbiased view. We have to cut away from the spin. Like the media and the politicians are incentivized to spin. So we got to do our best to cut that away, back to the clean information. What is the true intent? Watch things, listen to things in good faith. And one of the things I've been doing lately, partly because of this channel, is I'll see some headline on YouTube and it will say, Trump is X, Y, and Z because he just said this. And what I'll try and do is find the source video, and I'll watch the source video without any of the commentary, without any of the pizzazz of that title or anything like that. And I'll try and see if there's anything truly shocking about what he said, just like the video title. And most of the time there's not. And that works both ways. It can be about Kamala's meltdown. And okay, she said this and that, but it wasn't that bad. They really went after Trump for being a Nazi. They went after Trump for being a dictator. They called, they do name bashing. And that the funny thing is, the irony is that they keep saying that's what he does. So the lens by which we look through these things needs to be filtered as best as possible, or not filtered, needs to be as raw as possible, so that we can make objective decisions, not get whipped up into emotions that are unnecessary. David Lammy has fallen foul of this, and now he's going to have to deal with this situation with Trump. And it's a lesson for us in our individual lives. Try and see the perspective of the other person. You might not agree with it, but is there a reason why they think that way? And maybe you can understand it a little bit better and get to middle ground. Thank you so much for watching the video today. Hope to catch you in the next one.